Further south with some frost in Wales, a low of 4 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Holly Jones.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. Well, the story dominating UK politics, domestic politics, is, of course, the Labour leadership contest. And that is heightened today because nominations are open from today for who the next Labour leader could be. And a sixth name has thrown her hat into the ring. Not surprising, Rebecca Long-Bailey was expected from the very beginning to put herself forward for this. She, of course, has Angela Rayner supporting her flatmate, who'll run as deputy. She's seen by many to be the continuity Corbyn candidate. And this morning, she was interviewed and asked questions about where she stood. For example, here she is on anti-Semitism within the Labour Party.
We weren't strong enough on anti-Semitism, and I've been quite clear about that before. There are things that should have happened far quicker. We should have sped up our processes. We should have listened to Jewish communal organisations and involved them. And now we're in a situation where trust has been completely broken, and the new leader, whether that's myself or any of the other candidates, has to rebuild that trust very quickly. And we have to make robust proposals.
OK. What about immigration?
I think we need to have a fair immigration system, but we can't nod towards quite dangerous politics. And I understand the reasons why that was done in the election campaign. And there are concerns, certainly within our party, that there are, elements that concern people about immigration policy within our community. But we do need, as a party, to make a stronger argument, because I don't think we've ever set out the economic case as to why immigration is a positive force.
That sounds like an open door to me. And what about socialism?
But he also set out a radical platform for policy development that involved the grassroots and our trade unions and developed some of the most exciting and innovative policies that we've seen in a generation. And I think he'll go down in history as being remembered as the leader that has done that.
Gosh, well, there we are. No apologies there. Jeremy Corbyn's policy platform was right. Renationalisation, higher taxes, proper socialism. So, actually, she is, isn't she, the continuity Corbyn candidate? There's no question that actually is the right label for her. But I tell you what interests me. I said this on Sunday, my first show back with you. Looking at the timetable, as I say, nominations open today. We go through a lengthy process and we get the result of this election on Saturday, the 4th of April. That means most of January, the whole of February, the whole of March, and much of the first week of April. And I mused on Sunday, would people actually maintain interest in this? And yet, this is wall to wall on cable TV, on radio debate, in the newspapers. Yeah, I know Iran is the international issue, but the domestic issue is, at the moment, Labour. Now, I've said in the past that many of these people who appear on big political programmes, your average member of the public would not pick out of a lineup. And of course, that's just sort of normal Nigel being rude about everybody, because he always is. Well, I was fascinated this morning to look at the Daily Telegraph, because they had done a piece of research about these Labour candidates, including Rebecca Long-Bailey, because they'd assumed that she would run. So just before we came on air, I spoke to Camilla Tominey, the associate editor of the Daily Telegraph. She conducted this poll with Delta Poll, and I asked her, why does no one recognise any of these leadership hopefuls?
Delta Poll asked members of the public, I think between Christmas Eve and January the 2nd, whether they recognise a list of the Labour leadership contenders. And they even included photographs of the likes of Rebecca Long-Bailey,
it's the lineup, you see.
Starmer, Emily Thornberry. To be fair, these are all names that will be familiar to LBC listeners, but not, it seems, the wider general public, because none of the candidates polled higher than 29% recognition. And that's even among Labour voters.
Unbelievable.
So a figure like Clive Lewis, who is one of the candidates, was only recognised by 8% of the public.
Wow. So this gives Labour a massive problem, because their election period goes on until the first week of April. Is there not a danger for Labour that the public just get bored to death with all of this?
Well, I think also Labour are suffering from the fact that the public is already completely election weary. We've had enough of elections. I mean, we've had enough of elections, frankly, before December the 12th, but obviously that was the most definitive one of the last 3 years. And I think there's this sense that, A, no one cares all that much, but B, the candidates aren't exciting anyone particularly.
Absolutely.
And let's be honest, there aren't really any big personalities of the likes of, say, the Blair era. I'm thinking about people like John Prescott or David Blunkett. I mean, there's probably a higher recognition factor for somebody like Alan Johnson starring in that ITV reality show at the weekend where he dressed up as an Egyptian and was revealed to be a secret singer than there is in the likes of Lisa Nandy, who it seems most people have never even heard of.
And tell me, as a seasoned observer of this, do you think any one of these six could break out in the next 3 months and become that big personality?
Well, I think the biggest personality of all is probably Jess Phillips.
So do I.
And I think she has got the most chance of appealing to those voters that Labour desperately needs to appeal to in the Midlands and the North. Having said that, she hasn't had the best start because having suggested on the Andrew Marr show that she would try and campaign to rejoin the EU, she then had to backtrack when she gave a subsequent op-ed to The Independent on Monday saying actually that wasn't the plan. So she needs to get her story straight. But I would suggest that she might be the candidate the Tories would be most worried about Boris Johnson facing at the other side of the dispatch box.
So there we are. No one knows who these people are. If only a third of Labour voters can even recognise these people with a photograph, what does that tell you? It tells you, firstly, that people are tired of politics. And is that a surprise? In the last 5 years, we have had 3 general elections and a national referendum. And if you're in Scotland, it's 5 in the last 6 years. That's one thing, weariness with politics. And secondly, it is a complete lack of presence, personality, history. No one knows who these people are. I mean, I grew up, with figures like Dennis Healey, with the big eyebrows. But hey, the guy was a massive intellect, a giant of politics. You think through to the Blair era. I mean, Blair himself, whether you agree with Blair or not, I mean, my goodness me, what an amazing speaker, political performer. People like David Blunkett who'd overcome that cruel disability and risen to one of the top ranks in the land. Johnny Prescott lamping the bloke who threw an egg at him. I mean, you think about it, these were big characters and big personalities. And I absolutely agree with Camilla Tominey of the Daily Telegraph that these are not big personalities. Even the one of the 6 who's got the best CV, Sir Keir Starmer, because he was the boss, he was in charge, Director of Public Prosecutions, but actually, I mean, he may look the part, but a bit more like a wooden top, it seems to me, when he's being interviewed. I agree, the only one of them with any personality is Jess Phillips, and yet she has got no experience of shadow cabinet. And I just wonder, I'm going to ask you, do you even care who the next Labour leader is going to be? And if you're a Labour member and you care passionately about the soul of the Labour Party, then tell me that on 0345 6060 973. Or maybe you think, do you know what? I've had enough of all this. There isn't going to be an election for a further 5 years. I couldn't give a tuppenny damn. Please text to 84850 and tell me, I'm asking you the same question I asked Camilla Tominey, do you see one of these 6 who may, in the next 3 months, just surprise all of us, including me? If you do, please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And of course, you can watch us on Twitter, Facebook and YouTube and comment and question there too. Dave is a new caller to the show from Kingston upon Thames. Dave, do you care who the next Labour leader is?
Hello, Nigel. Big fan of yours.
Good evening.
I do care.
Okay.
I think the country needs a good, effective opposition, but going back to your point earlier on about politicians of the past, you're right. They need to pick somebody who is a personality. This person needs to be suave. If it's a male, they need to be well, they certainly need to stand up and speak very well if they're a lady. It's certainly not somebody that sounded like Joe Swinson of the Liberal Democrats, which sounded like an irritating English teacher. They need...
You sound like Donald Trump in your put-downs here, Dave.
Oh dear, oh dear. I will take that as a compliment, Nigel, to be put in the same arena as Mr. Trump. I can't remember the Labour guy's name, but there was a very sort of handsome-looking Labour fellow that mid-40s. I can't remember his name. That I thought he certainly got the right look.
Are you thinking about the Barnsley MP, the former Army officer Dan Jarvis? Is that the one you're thinking about?
Possibly. I know Chuka Umana isn't part of the Labour Party anymore, but I mean, if he had have stuck around in the Labour Party, he would have been somebody that could possibly have, made a pretty good job of it.
Dave, tell me, do you think any of these six can tick the boxes of being suave or a good speaker and really inspire between now and the 4th of April?
They certainly help, but I think the person's got to demonstrate that they can...
But who? Dave, who?
I'm struggling. You can probably hear it.
You're telling me the qualities you want to see, and I understand those qualities. I'm going to put it on the line right now, Dave. I don't think any one of these six can do it.
No, I don't think they can either. I think the Labour Party have got a real wilderness problem.
Yes. So do I. Dave, thank you for the call. I agree with you. Paul in Braintree says, "Hi, Nigel. I couldn't care less." And I think there's going to be a few people out there like that. Nigel, it seems that any old dog could put their name forward. There needs to be a means test to filter candidates. Well, Ollie, in Basingstoke, this is a democratic process taking place within the Labour Party. And if people get the right number of nominations, they, of course, should be able to stand. And, of course, to lead an effective opposition, you're going to have to be bright, articulate, think on your feet, all of those things. But you're going to need personality. And if you think about politics across the Western world in the last few years, actually, it's big personalities that have come through. Many of them with a lot of flaws. Donald Trump, pretty flawed, huge personality. Boris Johnson, certainly pretty flawed, but got a personality. And you can think about, Alex Salmond in Scotland in that big run-up they had in 2013-14. These were people with big personalities. The public want big personalities. The public couldn't care less if they're flawed in their personal lives. I see Jess Phillips has got one. I can't see the rest have. And I think within the next few weeks and months, you, LBC listeners, are going to start to lose interest in who the next Labour leader is. That's my view. Tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm wrong. 0345 6060 973. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 16 minutes past 6 and time for the news headlines with Holly Jones.
Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn says the US killing of Iranian General Soleimani puts British troops and civilians, as well as people living in the region, in danger. A British teenager given a suspended sentence in Cyprus after being found guilty of lying about being raped is on her way home. A teenage neo-Nazi terrorist who listed areas to attack in Durham has been jailed for more than 6 years. LBC weather: rain in the north tonight, drier further south with some frost in Wales, a low of 4 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. It stays slow on the M25 anti-clockwise from junction 84 Reigate to Clackett Lane services after an accident earlier. In Finsbury Park, Seven Sisters Road southbound stays blocked. That's because of an accident at Fonthill Road close to the station, so there are delays. It's very slow in Finchley on the North Circular Road eastbound because of cranes breaking down at Henley's Corner. There are delays in Upper Edmonton on 4th Street southbound. That's because of an accident at the North Circular Road. In Romford, Main Road stays blocked both ways because of an accident between Kingston Road and Lodge Avenue. There are queues in Kidbrooke Park Road northbound is partly blocked because of an accident just before Kidbrooke Station. And on the A2 eastbound, there's a lane closed at the Southfleet turn-off because of an accident, so there are long delays.
This is LBC.
At Costa, we know New Year's resolutions are easier said than done. Like going to the gym every day. Well, some days. Or saving money. Until those January sales. And how about going dairy-free? Well, actually, that's pretty easy, since our delicious almond, coconut and soya dairy alternatives are now free. At last, New Year's resolutions you can stick to. Visit your local Costa Coffee and discover what's new in store. T's and C's apply.
This is LBC.
Here's the thing about block management. If you do it yourself, you're over here sorting out the insurance, and here keeping everything compliant.
Don't forget the grounds maintenance and the service charges.
And that's just what you need to do today. But because the ABC Estates block management team can look after every aspect of your property portfolio, from repairs to service charge collections, your time can, at last, be better spent elsewhere. Be as happy as Larry with block management from Alder Martin, Baines and Cuthbert. Talk to us today. Call 0800 888 6688 or visit abcestates.co.uk.
We need to leave now. Monty, where's your other shoe? Some things in life are hard to find quickly. Your new boiler doesn't have to be one of them. With Swell Heating's online tool, find the perfect boiler from top manufacturers like Worcester Bosch in under 5 minutes. Visit swellheating.com. Rely on us to keep you warm.
There's nothing like meeting face-to-face. And there's nothing like Zoom to make that happen. Zoom lets you connect and do business across town or around the world. Zoom ties together all of your communication needs into one easy platform for video conferencing, phone calls, group chat, webinars, and your conference rooms. Connect easily from anywhere, your mobile phone, your laptop, or conference room. Zoom is how business gets done. Get your free account at zoom.com today. Meet happy with Zoom.
Life changes that can happen after divorce can make it difficult or impossible to uphold requirements of your divorce decree. The orders issued in a divorce are based on the facts presented at the time, but your circumstances can change. You might be paying child support you can no longer afford, or you're making payments to an ex-spouse. Changed circumstances may also mean you have an opportunity to modify an unsatisfactory child custody arrangement. If a modification to your court order is necessary, go to cordell.co.uk. We're a partner men can count on, and that never changes.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Now, last night I mentioned Angela Rayner, who'd already announced that she was going to run to be deputy before Rebecca Long-Bailey, her running mate, had put her hat into the ring. I did say last night that I'd done a BBC TV debate and I'd sat next to Angela Rayner, and I did say last night I'd never met anybody as aggressive and unpleasant towards me as Angela Rayner. I did say that. I did also say it could just be me, I don't know. Well, she has responded on Twitter and said, Nigel, so many people feel the comments you make every day are aggressive and unpleasant. I was merely challenging you in a debate. You rarely get challenged properly. I'm not so sure LBC callers do. When you do, and the things you say are scrutinised, they fall apart like the old UKIP manifesto paper. Angela, I'm going to depress you now. So much of the 2015 UKIP manifesto went into the Conservative Party manifesto. In fact, there's barely a policy Boris is running on that wasn't in that UKIP manifesto of 2015, and that probably will upset your day even more than me saying that I found you aggressive and unpleasant. But I'm sure we can at some point in the future kiss and make up. Look, I want there to be an effective opposition in this country. It's how parliamentary democracy works. I'm worried that despite all the big fine words and promises, I'm worried that maybe Boris won't deliver the kind of Brexit that many of us want. And anyway, a government that is not held to account is a government that will start to make some really big mistakes. So don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that I don't care who the next Labour leader is because it's not important. I'm saying it's difficult to care very much given the 6 people we've got before us, none of whom, it seems to me, are going to fulfil that role or have the personality. That is what I'm putting to you. Let's go to Daniel, who's calling from Addlestone in Surrey. Good evening, Daniel.
Good evening, Nigel. How are you?
I'm all right. So how much do you care about the next Labour leader? Or are you like 2/3 of the population? You don't even know who they are.
Well, yeah, I'm aware of who they are because it's the same faces that were around Corbyn and advising Corbyn.
Isn't it just? Isn't it just? Yeah.
So, and, you know, I noticed certain people were wise enough to still stay in the background, don't put themselves out too much because they don't want the drama. But they get paid regardless. I don't want to be cynical about it, but there is a kind of guarantee that people will be employed and paid regardless. I mean, all that you highlighted just before I was speaking to you is kind of what my sentiments is, and the government, people need to remember that the last 3 years of Brexit paralysis have, the world has kept turning, and again, it's the same faces.
Yeah, Jess Phillips, Daniel, you could argue is the outsider.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, again, you mentioned about the qualities of a politician, and again, I don't want to be idealistic, but trust in politicians. I mean, one thing that can be said about Trump, again, of all these things, there are people, millions, tens of millions of Americans that believe in him and believe that their nation will not get better unless they support their president, And, to believe into their country. I mean, we get it over here, don't we? Just, noticing America and falling in love with America because of what Trump is doing, President Trump is doing.
Well, to be fair, Daniel, President Trump does split opinion in quite a big way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's going to get impeached, isn't he? And all this nonsense.
Yeah, but it's going nowhere. It's going nowhere.
No, but now this unilateral decision to do what he's done over the weekend, I mean, now they've got another grounds to, again, waste time over there, just go round and round.
Do you know what? I think that's their mistake. Daniel, tell me, can any one of these six emerge between now and the 4th of April to be a big, serious personality in British politics?
With all taking away all my cynicism away, I think Jess Phillips would be someone. I mean, I'm wary about her because she's tied to Tony Blair, and we would differ on Tony Blair. But I think she is credible. The best chance of them having credible and an honest discussion about what is going on.
Daniel, no, it's a fair point of view. Thank you. And I have to say, I've been at a friend's funeral today, and one or two there in the event afterwards were saying, "Oh yeah, this Jess Phillips is interesting, isn't she?" Yeah, not political people that know that I'm involved in politics and current affairs, but there is no doubt that Jess Phillips has made a bit of an impact. Now, you may think politically she's not very, joined up. And I'm not allowed to encourage betting, of course, or gambling in any way on LBC. But you can get a shade of odds if that's the way that you thought and if you were inclined that way. But she's very much the outsider in every degree. She's the outsider for the bookmakers. She's the outsider politically. But I'm not saying she and I have always got on particularly well, but I will speak to her. But she's the one I think that if any of these six will surprise, I'm going to say it now, it'll be her. Because the others are all already known quantities. Jack on Facebook says, the Labour candidates are amazingly worse than the US Democratic presidential candidates. Edwina says, yes, personality is needed, but keeping the same policies and never being positive about the future of our country shows little faith in its people. And we've got to make a success of Brexit. Well, again, Edwina, we haven't yet got into the Brexit debate with the Labour leadership, but we will as these weeks go by. James is a new caller to the programme, to LBC from Dover. Good evening, James.
Hi, Nigel. You well?
I'm well. Now, Dover, of course, a seat that in Tony Blair's time Labour held, and now, of course, is quite firmly Conservative. So you're living in the kind of place that a new Labour leader needs to win back, aren't you?
I'm the sort of voter a new Labour leader needs to win back.
Right, OK. So are you a Labour Party member?
No, I'm not. And I won't be if things continue as they are.
OK. So I'm putting forward to you at the premise tonight that the six are virtually unheard of, unknown, have no personality, and over the next 3 months, interest in the party and will diminish.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm a politics guy. I just finished it at university.
Okay.
I know who all six are.
Yes.
But I've asked my mates who are Labour members, and they have no idea who they are and have no confidence in any of them.
And they're Labour members.
And they're Labour members.
Which all goes to show how much the leader matters, doesn't it?
It does. But there's also the counter-argument of they've got 203 MPs. How many good people they've got left to pick? Because most of their natural heirs and successors have got booted out at the election.
Well, you see, here's the point that, I mentioned it earlier on, that nominations, James, open today, but they are open, they stay open until next Monday at 2:30. Is it possible that somebody amongst those 203 comes through next week that can inspire and stun us? Do you know what? I don't think so.
I don't think so, but I think people like Hilary Benn need to have a think about it. Because I remember his speech in regards to intervening with Syria and how he defied Jeremy Corbyn's whip and made that really impassioned speech.
Yeah, it was a very powerful speech, wasn't it?
He is someone who would have the gravitas to respect and is an elder of the party, possibly like a Joe Biden would be in America, who would go possibly down well with some of the older members, but the youth, I don't think it would go down well with. There is no one there that can bring this great coalition that Ed Miliband allowed in with the £3 membership and that Jeremy Corbyn has fostered.
No, I agree.
No one that can bring two wings together.
No, James, I don't see anybody with that false personality. I agree with you. Thank you for your call. Caroline Flint would be the best candidate. Yeah, that's great on Twitter. Thank you. She's not even in the House. She's not going to be running. And then another one. Adrian says from Manchester, Tom Watson was the only one. Yeah, but he's not running, is he? It's all a bit peripheral. And I get from Stamford in Lincolnshire, we're all Brexhausted. Let's just get on with it. I think we are all Brexhausted. I think we're all actually a bit tired of politics. I wonder whether Rob, who's a new caller to the show from Twickenham, agrees with that. Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, Nigel. How are you?
I'm all right. So, how much do you care about the next leader?
Well, I care quite a lot, to be fair, Nigel. And it's my point of view on the whole stance is who is going to represent the people, the working class people of this country that work their, proverbial bums off very, very hard to make ends meet, and there's no one representing them. And these people that obviously you talk about that are going to be in charge of Labour. Yes, I don't know who they are, but when do they get the airtime? Whoever puts them up on stage, and we have what
they are, Rob. They are going to get no. Believe you me, they are going to get shed loads of airtime. I'm sure Ian Dale, who follows me, will be holding debates amongst the leadership candidates here on LBC. It'll be happening elsewhere. They will get shed loads of airtime. But do they have anything new to bring? And do they have the personality that's necessary in the modern world?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that. I mean, the only guy that ever sticks out in my mind is the Keir Starmer, because I hear so much of it. His name seems to pop up all the time. But to be fair, I don't know an awful lot about him. I've not seen too much of what he represents. And the only time I ever see these people are on Question Time, and they're sat on a panel and they're answering a couple of questions here and there. And that's all you ever really get to.
So I'm being told here. But Andrew in Manchester says, Robbie says, Steamer, he calls him, not Starmer, is the only one who can win it. But because he looks good, Rob. He looks good. He looks the ticket. I can see him walking down an aeroplane step somewhere in the world being our Prime Minister. But does he have any personality, or is he a wooden top?
But I mean, this is the horse that we jumped on with Boris, wasn't it? When it was all a kind of like, he was the best of a bad situation again, wasn't it? Was really everybody had sole confidence in him leading the country? I don't think so. But
Rob, don't we want somebody who's a big personality? Isn't that what we desire and need in the modern world?
I think it's very, very important. I do think it's very, very important. But I think you also need somebody that can relate to all sections of society.
And the working classes, as you mentioned. Well, yep. Labour have to... Rob, I'm going to love you and leave you. Labour must reconnect with the working classes. Of that, there's no doubt. Can any of these six do it? I'm not so sure. This is the Nigel Farage Show here at LBC. It's 31 minutes past 6 and time for the news with Holly Jones.
The Defence Secretary says the UK will defend the right of countries to defend themselves after the killing of an Iranian general in a US drone strike. It's reported more than 50 people have died in a stampede during Qasem Soleimani's funeral in Iran. A British teenager found guilty of lying about being raped in Cyprus is on her way home after she was given a suspended sentence. The 19-year-old has been on the island for almost 5 months and says she was pressured into withdrawing the allegations. A judge in New York has threatened to jail Harvey Weinstein for using his mobile phone in a courtroom. A jury's been chosen in his rape and sexual assault trial. The 67-year-old film producer denies 5 charges against him. LBC weather, rain in the north tonight, drier further south with some frost in Wales, a low of 4 degrees.
Sheila Fogarty, Monday to Friday from 1 p.m.
The Labour Party, the resistance to the Tory party, as Jeremy Corbyn is now characterising since that resounding defeat.
Even though he lost, respect that man.
When you lose as a leader, you can't say, yes, but if it had been a Wednesday and the electorate had made a different decision, I'd be a winner.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
Ladies and gentlemen, behold the world's most fantastical, sensational number. 64 million. Tonight's Euro Millions jackpot is a massive £64 million.
Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen. Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Here you are. It's January again.
Nuh-uh. This is 2020, the year of the boss. The year you leave your same old job and boss the business of your #dreams. And with a 3 business plan, you get exclusive benefits from FreshBooks, Moo, WeWork, and Wix. Plus, you can get unlimited data, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost. So you can ride the wave of new biz like an absolute pro.
Get a plan fit for a boss, because 3 means business, just like you. Compatible device required. See 3.co.uk/5G.
My name's Luke. I live in Dunstable with my wife and 4 daughters. We've got a Ring doorbell too out the front. Every time there's someone who comes up to the door, it notifies my phone, and then I can actually see if there's anyone dodgy at the door. A while ago, we had an incident at the house. My wife and I was in bed about 1:30 in the morning. We got a notification on my Ring app on my phone. So I looked on the actual video itself, and it showed me that he was trying to get underneath the mat to see if there was a key there so he can actually get into the house. The video clip allowed the police to see exactly who was in front of the camera and where that person was touching the door. And that allowed the crime scene technician to dust for prints. Thanks to the video clip and his fingerprints, that was enough to convict him. The most important thing for me is when I'm not here during the night, I need to know that the family's safe, and Ring Doorbell does that.
Join Luke and the millions of people protecting their homes with Ring. Learn more at ring.com.
Credit limit of up to £1,500. What do you have to do to get it? Simple. Get online and check if you're eligible for an Ocean credit card in minutes without affecting your credit score. For your Ocean credit card, visit ocean.co.uk now and get all that from Ocean. Intelligent Lending Limited is a credit broker. Capital One, the exclusive lender. Representative 39.9% APR variable. Borrow and spend responsibly.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC, The Nigel Farage Show.
Bit of good news. England's cricketers win in South Africa. Ben Stokes, another stunning performance. Believe me, folks, he is the new Ian Botham. He's the real deal. And last summer, I was having dinner one evening in London. I got a tap on the shoulder. I stood up and turned around. It was Ben Stokes. I haven't been so starstruck in years. So well done, England cricket. A bit of good news. Now, Iran, of course, hasn't gone away. I know we're discussing Labour tonight because it is the dominant issue in domestic politics. But on the world stage, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo gave a news conference this afternoon and was questioned about the president's words when he said that cultural sites were among the 52 identified Iranian targets if the Iranians torture, maim or blow up our people.
A question about the issue of cultural sites, because the president said on Air Force One coming back, after you had been on the Sunday talk shows, that they're allowed to kill our people, they're allowed to torture and maim our people, they're allowed to use roadside bombs and blow up our people, and we're not allowed to touch their cultural sites. It doesn't work that way. Defense Secretary Esper has made it clear that he would not follow an order to hit a cultural site would be a war crime. I'm wondering whether you would also push back in your advice or
This is US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo about to answer.
You're not really wondering, Andrea. You're not really wondering. I was unambiguous on Sunday. It is completely consistent with what the president has said. We will take every action we take will be consistent with the international rule of law. And the American people can rest assured that that's the case. Let me tell you who's done damage to the Persian culture. It's not the United States of America.
Okay, Mike Pompeo being very robust there indeed. And Defence Secretary Ben Wallace today in the House of Commons updating MPs on the crisis in the Middle East and explaining to Parliament why the US carried out this action.
Long before the death of General Soleimani, Iran had stepped up its destabilising activities in the region, Whether it was targeting dissidents in Europe or hijacking civilian ships, this aggressive behaviour was never going to go unchallenged. Her Majesty's Government, Mr. Speaker, urges Iran to return to the normal behaviour of the country it aspires to be and resist the urge to retaliate.
So that was Ben Wallace. And so what you're getting here with the Defence Secretary, the Foreign Secretary Raab, the Prime Minister, are a series of messages that you might think are conflicting. I think what's going on here is the British government are playing a game of diplomatic tiptoe. They're trying to make sure they don't really offend America, they don't really offend the European Union, because bear in mind that the Iran nuclear deal was Obama and the European Union together, believing in it. Europe still believes in it, and it's Trump that didn't believe in it. And Boris does find himself in a difficult position. And this really is, for the Prime Minister, his first genuine test of leadership on the world stage. Now, in response to Ben Wallace, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn said the assassination puts British troops and civilians in danger.
Isn't the truth, Mr. Speaker, that he's scared to stand up to President Trump because he's hitched his wagon to the prospect of a toxic Trump trade deal? Instead, Mr. Speaker, at this highly dangerous moment, we find the government giving cover and even expressing sympathy for what is widely regarded as an illegal act because they're so determined to keep in with President Trump.
Yeah, well, Jeremy Corbyn, one could argue, is so determined to keep in with the Iranian regime, he did, of course, take money from Press TV, an Iranian state-owned television network, in the past. If you think I'm being unfair, then I'll read out your counter-proposal if you text to 84850. So let's get back to, do we care who the next Labour leader is? We should care. Of course we should care. We live in a parliamentary democracy, but these six, I don't think, are beginning to inspire us. Craig says to me, "Evening, Nigel. I'd love Diane Abbott to run for leader. I'd join the Labour Party to vote her in." Well, maybe you would. I don't know. Jay is a new caller to LBC from High Wycombe. Good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. Thanks for having me on.
Not at all. So, how important is this leadership contest, and why do 2/3 of the public not recognise the six of them?
It's extremely important, and why I think it's important is because there is former members like me. I left the Labour Party when they expelled Alistair Campbell. To me, that
did you? Did you?
Yeah, to me it really signalled. It was a signal of intent that the Labour Party had moved on from the days where I felt I recognised with the Labour Party. So, and my whole point, Nigel, is that I genuinely don't believe that the Labour Party will ever get elected back into power unless it shifts fundamentally. I'm not talking about a Blairite movement. What I am saying is that the way in which Jeremy Corbyn has taken the party has made this party that was once, for the people, completely unelectable, and that's clear from what's happened in the election.
So, Jay, you're talking about a move away from hard left socialism towards social democracy, yeah?
The country doesn't want it. As much as I would love to see a Labour government, it's quite clear that the country said no on December 12th, and as a person that has paid to be a Labour member, I have always voted Labour. I don't see a change in that. And the only candidate that gives me a slight inclination of hope is Keir Starmer, because I believe, I think it was Nick Ferrari was talking about the image that you need as a potential world leader.
Yes.
I mean, Rebecca Long-Bailey, Nigel, it just...
you're having a laugh, aren't you? You're having a laugh. Yeah. This does not look like a Prime Minister, does it?
No, not at all. And what she's saying is, actually, I want to continue what Jeremy's been doing, but it's clear. I've spoken to so many people who would have formerly voted Labour. That direction is not the right direction.
Jay, I agree with you on this one point, okay? Keir Starmer, and I said it before the break, Keir Starmer looks like a Prime Minister, all right? He stands up straight. You can see him walking down the steps of an aeroplane in Washington or whatever it is, looking like a prime. I get that. I also get he's not as hard left as Jeremy Corbyn, although his sort of launch platform was, I sense, rather reaching out to that left electorate. But let's just pass that by for a minute. But two problems I see with Keir Starmer. Number one, where's the personality? Where's the fizz? Where's the buzz? All right, I was a bit cruel earlier, saying he's a bit like a wooden top, but I just don't. But I don't see where the fizz is. Point number one, and point number two, Jay. And you may find this difficult because if you left after Alistair Campbell, you're clearly a devoted Remainer. A Labour leader that bangs on about what a mistake it was to leave the European Union is going to find Brexhaustion turning into Brex anger and people saying go to hell.
Yeah, and actually, on the point around Brexit, you'll be stunned to know I voted to leave.
Did you?
Yes,
okay.
I did.
All right.
And I didn't.
I apologise, I got that wrong. Okay.
But you know what? I'm not surprised you said it. But actually, my view on it is that the new Labour leader needs to accept the result because I'm fed up now. 3 years, 4 years nearly of absolute stalemate. At the end of the day, it was a democratic vote. We voted to leave. I mean, you've said this tons of times. I don't need to reiterate it. But the point is, the new leader needs to accept that and start.
Jay. But does Keir Starmer is an absolutely dedicated Remainer? Jess Phillips has already said she might support a campaign to rejoin. I mean, where is Starmer? Is Starmer capable of giving up on his EU beliefs?
I think if he wants to be the future Prime Minister, he needs to see beyond that as a single issue of the future of our country for the next 10 years.
I agree with that, but is he capable, was my question.
I hope. Well, he's a very capable man because of the departments that he's run and the work that he's done, but it comes down to sometimes, does belief outweigh competence?
I know. Jay, great call. Thanks for calling LBC. Thank you. Samuel is a new caller to the show from Oldham. Good evening, Samuel.
Good evening, Nigel. I think this leadership, the 6 candidates we've got at the minute, I think you've obviously got Jess Phillips, who's opposed Jeremy Corbyn throughout the election and through the time of running. But then we go to the opposite side of Rebecca Long-Bailey, who's practically Jeremy Corbyn, part 2. And I saw 2 things on Twitter that she tweeted about the policies was the reason that Labour had failed to win the election, and then said that she was part of manufacturing the policy. So there's 2 conflicting interests with that. So I think... Well,
I mean, she's proud of the fact, Long Bailey, that she had an input into the Labour manifesto, isn't she? And the other point, I guess, to make, Samuel, is that 5 of the 6 have been collectively part of a Jeremy Corbyn team, haven't they?
Well, that was the reason that they lost the election. I mean, it wasn't solely Jeremy Corbyn. Obviously, that Brexit was a part of it. And I mean, 380 seats is quite a message to Parliament. And I think now it is time that to pull it away from the election.
Samuel,
Brexit, as soon as it is done, we need a strong opposition to be able to hold.
Yes, of course,
Boris to account. He can't just get away with things.
I agree with that totally. But 2/3 of the public don't recognise any of them. Do you see one of the 6, Samuel, between now and the 4th of April emerging as a big, serious national political figure?
I think the only person who possibly has a chance, and I don't believe he'd win an election, or I don't think he'd be strong enough in Parliament, is Keir Starmer. But I think the next person really has to come down to a backbencher who we do not know, because these people have made a name for themselves that they just cannot be trusted.
And they've all been part of Team Corbyn. They've all been part of failure. Samuel, I get the point. Thank you very much. Well, that means Jess Phillips, but there is still a week for somebody else to come in from the backbenches to surprise everybody. It's not impossible. I've mentioned Dan Jarvis earlier. I just don't know who else it could be. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, here on LBC at 6:45. Time for the news headlines with Holly Jones.
It's understood more than 50 people have died during a stampede at the funeral for Iranian General Soleimani, killed in a US drone strike. A British teenager is returning home from Cyprus after being given a suspended sentence for her conviction of lying about being raped. A teenager has admitted the manslaughter of PC Andrew Harper, who died on duty in Berkshire last year. LBC weather: rain in the north tonight, drier further south with some frost in Wales, a low of 4 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. It's slow on the M25 clockwise. There's a lane blocked on the exit slip road at junction 15 for the M4 because of an accident. On the M25 anti-clockwise, it's also slow from junction 6 for Godston to Clackett Lane services going through the roadworks where one lane is closed. In Finsbury Park, Seven Sisters Road southbound is partly blocked because of an accident at Fonthill Road near the station, so there are queues going past. There were delays in Finchley on the North Circular Road eastbound after a crane broke down at Henley's Corner earlier on. There are also queues on Kidbrook Park Road northbound. That's partly blocked because of an accident before Kidbrook Station. And on the A2 eastbound, there were queues to the the Southfleet turn-off because of an accident where one lane is closed.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
Today, Rebecca Long-Bailey has become the 6th candidate to enter the race to take over from Jeremy Corbyn. Is she the woman to revive Labour's fortunes?
Ian Dale on LBC.
Oak Furnitureland's big winter sale is full of surprises. Surprising styles. Modern, painted, classic. There's even sofas. And be really surprised at the savings. They're huge, so don't miss out. Oak Furnitureland's big winter sale is online and in-store now. Be surprised.
Fancy watching a film?
Could do. What's on?
This looks good. Spiders on a train.
What's it about?
Spiders knocking about on a train.
Sometimes the name says it all. Like the Big Tasty from McDonald's, with succulent beef, cheese, sliced tomato, lettuce, onions and lashings of our Big Tasty sauce. Available with or without bacon. Served after 11 a.m. until the 28th of January. Participating restaurants only, subject to availability.
How can it be fair that millions of people in the world are denied access to clean water? At WaterAid, we need your help to create an equal world. Whether you're from Morden or Madagascar, everyone, everywhere should have access to clean water. Because clean water changes lives. You can help WaterAid change the picture. To find out how, search WaterAid Radio now.
Play along with our 10-second teaser. Ready? Who is the patron saint of accountancy? The answer is St. Matthew the Evangelist. If you got that right, you must be pretty smart. So you'll know who to choose for your business accounting, audit and tax affairs. Search Barnes Roaf. Clever accountants for business.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are or what time of day, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem.
And it's so simple, you can install it yourself in minutes. See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. Available at ring.com and selected retailers.
Hello, Sunny speaking.
Hi, Sunny. It's Alex. Is Steve free?
Steve, I have Alex on the line.
Put him through. Hi, Alex. Hello? Hello?
Fed up of a difficult-to-use phone system? Hi is an intuitive touchscreen business phone with removable tablet, centralised contacts and instant video to anyone. Stop saying
hello
and start saying
hi.
Visit hihi.co.uk for more information.
Ladies and gentlemen, behold the world's most fantastical, sensational number. 64 million. Tonight's Euro Millions jackpot is a massive £64 million.
Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen. Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC.
Who will be the next Labour leader? A contest that goes on between today, when nominations open, and the 4th of April, when we get a result, or will we all be bored witless by the 6 current runners and riders whom 2/3 of the country don't even recognise? Before I get back to that, law and order. I'm going to keep on talking about this. Crime is out of control in this country. It's so bad that much of it now isn't even reported, but some of it is. So how about this? Try this for size. The chances of police catching and successfully prosecuting car thieves has fallen 5-fold in the last 2 years. Oh, yes. Now, only 1 in 400 vehicle crimes where the offenders broke into or stole a car results in them getting jail, a fine, or even a community sentence that is 0.25%, down from 1.1% just 2 years ago. And at all levels, car crime, theft. Yeah, sure, we read about the horrors of knife crime in London. What we don't read about are the horrors of knife crime in the West Midlands or gun crime in Liverpool or many of the other problems. But lower level crime still seriously affects people's lives, messes people's lives up. It is exploding out of control. And yeah, I know we've got Brexit, I know we've got Iran, I know we've got all these things going on, but I do intend, over the next few months, to have a real good, hard look at what is going on with crime, not just in the capital here, but all over the country. And, LBC listeners, tomorrow morning, Metropolitan Commissioner Cressida Dick will be taking calls with Nick Ferrari from 8:30 a.m. Someone ring in, ask her, why is it only 1 in 400 people that nicks a car or breaks into a car even gets a slap on the wrist, let alone a prison sentence? Please do. If you don't, I'll have to ring in under an assumed name. Right, back to Labour. I'm going to Edward, a new caller to LBC from Manchester. Good evening, Edward.
Good evening, Nigel.
OK, so, who of the six can inspire?
Of the six, I think Lisa Nandy's the best candidate for Labour right now.
Do you?
My thinking behind this is that the next Labour leader probably won't fight the next election for Labour, but Labour needs someone who can reconnect with people and make them feel kind of like the party talks to them again.
So you mean the next Labour leader won't survive 5 years?
No, I think there'll be a stand-in for maybe 2 or 3 years. Maybe some younger blood will come up in that time.
You may well be right. Yeah. You may.
So I think whoever wins, there'll continue to be these two big factions in the party which will fight each other very strongly over minor positions and at kind of meetings at the kind of conference over policy issues and stuff. So I don't think they'll survive for 5 years.
But Edward, I've met Lisa Nandy, perfectly nice and all that. Does she have what it takes to be the leader of Her Majesty's loyal opposition?
I think she does. I think I've seen Lisa speak at university. I think she's very eloquent. I think she talks to people. She held her seat in Wigan. She knows how to talk to her electors in the north, which Labour needs to do. She doesn't see voters with this kind of disdain, which I think a lot of London-based politicians have. I think she reaches out to people, she speaks to people. I think she can bring communities together and build bridges in a way someone like Keir Starmer or Rebecca, Ron Daly can't do.
Oh, Rebecca's, you're having a right go there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Are you a Labour member, Edward?
Yes, I'm a Labour member.
Paid up.
I've been
paid
2
up,
years.
Paid up and voting,
paid up and everything.
And was Corbyn a disaster? I mean, were the policies too left-wing?
I think it was a combination. I don't think the policy was too left-wing. I think that he didn't seem competent. The policies came out of nowhere, so people didn't believe them. And he wasn't clear on Brexit, and I think that really let him down with a lot of voters in the north who, I think, just wanted to leave.
So it's Lisa Nandy all the way, Edward, yeah?
Yep, Lisa all the way.
All right, very good. Thank you very much indeed. Owen from Kent says, David Cameron was a massive unknown in 2005 when he was elected Conservative leader. It's not unthinkable the same could happen to Labour today. Well, if that's the case, Owen, it'll have to be Jess Phillips, I guess, or somebody else that enters the race as a genuine outsider over the course of the next week. Frederick is calling from Chelmsford. Good evening.
Well, I have to say, I don't agree with you entirely because you said earlier on that it needs to be a big personality.
Yes.
But this was Labour's worst defeat since 1935. In 1935, they then elected a man that was the opposite of a big personality. I refer to Clement Attlee, and he was up against the biggest personality of all, Winston Churchill.
Frederick, I did, okay, fine. I did say, in the modern world, we need a big personality.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so, yeah, the point is...
But Clement Attlee, by the way, Frederick, Clement Attlee, who always, to the end of his life, referred to himself as Major Attlee, so proud was he of his service in Gallipoli and Salonika, and was an absolute, to his fingertips, a great British patriot. Mr. Corbyn, Mr. Corbyn wasn't that, was he?
No, he wasn't. And as you're a military historian, you will know that when, after the war, when the big three met and Franklin Roosevelt had died, Harry Truman was there, Joseph Stalin, and when Clement Attlee turned up, the Russians were completely amazed because they saw him as if he was some kind of back office clerk. They couldn't believe that Winston had been replaced with this little man. But this little man, he was a giant.
I think in a Labour movement...
There's hope for the Labour Party because of that, because of that history.
But in the modern world, Frederick, of all the noise of social media, conventional media, everything, I mean, I'm putting it to you that what we've seen in the last few years is a return to big personalities in politics, your Trumps, your Johnsons, whatever. And here's the point. all right, if 2/3 of the British public, including Labour voters, don't even recognise these people, they've got to do something to reach out, haven't they? And I'm suggesting, Frederick, personality is a way forward.
Yes, that's true, but don't forget the words of the great Tony Benn.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's not about personalities, it's about the issues. And a man, when in 1945...
Issues, Clement he used to say, yes, I know he did.
That's right, yeah, exactly. And, in 1945, his policies shone through for the people. And they said, we're going to go for him, despite all of Winston.
All right, OK. No, Frederick, I get it. Policies matter, absolutely. Quickly going to go to Louisa in Archway. Or Louise, I apologise. Good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. I just wanted to say, don't underestimate Keir Starmer's ability to unite both fractions of the party.
Yep.
I think, although it will be difficult for him because there are hard left people who don't see him as enough of a Corbynite, I think he stands the best chance. I mean, I think Jess Phillips would be a strong leader, and it would be great to have a female, head of Labour. But I do think that perhaps Keir Starmer stands the best chance of winning the election within the internal party and then going on to win a general election.
Well, Louise, I think he's the only one that looks the part. I'll agree with you on that. Hatch says to me on Facebook, Starmer blocked Parliament for 3 years. Isn't Starmer's problem that he's such a committed Remainer? That's a real issue.
I think, of course, that will be an issue, but I think I hope that the country and that the next general election won't be about Brexit. It will be about the future of the country. It will be about policies that bring people out of poverty and create greater social mobility. OK,
Louise, thank you very much indeed. Well, one thing for certain, if 2/3 of the public don't recognise any of them, whoever it is has got one heck of a job to do. Otherwise, the contest between now and the 4th of April could be a huge switch off for huge numbers in this country. I will be back here tomorrow evening in this chair at 6 o'clock. At 10 tonight, it's Tom Swarbrick. But up next, it's Ian Dale.
Nigel, thank you very much. Well, today, Rebecca Long-Bailey has become the 6th candidate to enter the race to take over from Jeremy Corbyn as Labour leader. Is she the woman to revive Labour's fortunes and take Labour back to power, or is she just continuity Corbyn and lacks the personality and convictions to make the difference that is needed? In the news hour, we'll be talking about that. Plus, MPs resume scrutiny of the EU withdrawal bill. There's a hustings going on with the 6 Labour leadership candidates at the moment. We have our collective ear to the door of that. Well, Matthew Thompson does at any